Hey y'all, happy Monday. I have a lot of things that I want to get into this week, so let's get started. Tomorrow night is our Women in the Word for the month of August, and so that is going to be online only, and it'll be live on the ministry, Nancy J Ministries, the Facebook page at 7:30. So join us. It's going to be a good time. I'm excited about the Word that we're going to break open together, and those are always just a good time. So tomorrow night, 7:30, Tuesday, August the 4th. So we'll meet and we'll just dig in together. So we are still in the loin belt of truth, the belt of truth. And last week we talked about the importance of the belt and having already tightened that belt before we walk out to stand our ground, knowing what the truth is. And we looked at David and Goliath again on Friday. And I want to talk, let's see. Here we go. Let's go to, I got so much thrown out here. That's one reason I wanted to do these here today, is because I have so many books and notes of things to look through. I want to talk about truth. If we read it from the Wuest translation, so which this is one that you are familiar with, I'm sure. It's a more direct translation, I guess, from the Greek. It's not an easy read, but there's such depth to it. So if we read this armor of God from the Wuest translation, he says, "Stand therefore, having girded your loins in the sphere of truth." So Paul talks about truth being an actual place, having girded about your loins, which we talked about like a girdle all the way around, tight, not going to fall off, in the sphere of truth. So what in the world does that mean? And I do really like to think about it as a place. For me, it just makes it easier to look at it that way. And so we have the sphere of truth that Paul talks about in Ephesians. And then we can read in Romans chapter 4 in this same Wuest translation. Romans 4 is one of my favorite passages talking about Abraham. And this is the passage where it says, like God who calls those things as be not as though they were. And so in talking about Abraham here, it says, moreover, in view of the promise of God, he did not vacillate in the sphere of unbelief between two mutually exclusive expectations. And so, again, it's not an easy read, but it's a great depth. So vacillate means to go from one sphere to the other. So from one place to the other, to waver. And that's actually what we read in some of our more common translations. It says that, that he did not, him being about 100, or the deadness of Sarah's womb. But it says he staggered not at the promise of God through unbelief. And so staggered not. He did not weaken in faith when he considered his own body. No unbelief or distrust made him waver. So, and that's what is this. I want to clear this. I want you to get this, that there's this sphere of unbelief, a place of unbelief. But Paul is telling the Ephesians to have your loins girded in the sphere of truth. And if you look at it as a place, so Abraham didn't vacillate in the sphere of unbelief. He didn't waver. He didn't come back and forth from the sphere of truth to the sphere of unbelief. He didn't go from one place to the other. He stayed, and it says, in view of the promise of God. And that is key. The promise of God is truth. The word of God is truth. Those are the only things that we know that are truth and are eternal. And so for Abraham, it says, in view of the promise of God. In view of the promise of God. He didn't go back and forth into the sphere of unbelief. But he kept that promise in view. And we'll pick up here tomorrow. I'll see you then. Bye, y'all.